We are live. Intimacy with God, week 2. So excited.
Yeah. We're back.
We're back, baby.
We're committed.
We're committed. We're devoted.
We're
We're
devoted.
devotees. Proving our faith time and time again. Welcome to your Wednesday.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Welcome to your Wednesday.
Thank you. I know we're feeling good.
Welcome to our Wednesday.
We both worked out. I've got my tea here. You're empty-handed.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I'm nourishing on
the inside. On the word.
On the word. Yeah.
I love that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, amazing. So if you're new here, welcome. I'm Tiffany. This is my partner, David. We are Sex.Prayers, and every Wednesday we're coming in to have a little sermon discussion around what we are diving into this week in our own intimate practices with connection to God. And so this is going to be a discussion between both of us, but we're also going to invite you to comment, respond, engage with us, please. Like, make this a discussion that goes beyond just us and beyond just God. And our mission here is to really just see how our reflections and our process can also help you start to reflect and process on how God is working through and in your life and also in your relationship.
Yes. Oh, I like that. Thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you
I'm
so
excited.
much. Excited to share this with you. Do you want to start with reading the scripture
Yeah.
that we're getting into?
Thank you. Okay.
What are we working with? Tell the people what we're working with
This week we're working with John, chapter 4.
John's a good guy. Such a good guy.
John's a great guy. I'm going to skip a little and get to the bit that I feel is most pertinent to what we want to talk about. They came out of the town and made their way towards him. Meanwhile, his disciples urged him, "Rabbi, eat something." But he said to them, "I have food to eat that you know nothing about." Then his disciples said to each other, "Could someone have brought him food?" "My food," said Jesus, "is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work. Don't you have a saying, 'It's still 4 months until harvest'? I tell you, open your eyes and look at the fields. They are ripe for harvest. Even now, the one who reaps draws a wage and harvests a crop for eternal life, so that the sower and the reaper may be glad together. Thus the saying, 'One sows and another reaps,' is true. I sent you to reap what you have not worked for. Others have done the hard work, and you have reaped the benefits of their labor."
Ooh.
Okay, so
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth?
there's still, I find it takes some analysis to kind of just unpick things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just words. And for me, a lot of scripture is symbology. It goes beyond the actual surface words that are being used. So I kind of just want to break it down a little bit.
Break it down for the people.
I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down for you.
Break it down now.
So his disciples are urging him, "Rabbi, have something to eat." And what did the disciples represent? The disciples represent us. They are the people who have had an awakening but aren't yet fully awakened. Jesus represents the fully awakened.
The awakened state. The
The
awakened
awakened
man.
state.
The healthy,
So-
embodied, integrated masculine.
And feminine.
And feminine.
Yes. And so the disciples are focused on the flesh. They're focused on needing to feed the body.
The immediate needs, right?
Right.
The immediate needs.
And so Jesus says to them, "I have food to eat that you know nothing about." So this isn't food of the flesh. This is food of spirit.
Right.
It's
Food of spirit.
Yes. My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work. So relating to God. And for me, this speaks into Tantric teachings of one consciousness and how to finish his work is we are all these individual incarnations of this one consciousness God, if you want to call it that. And we're just carrying on where the ones before us have left off.
Do you mean to say that we're reaping what they've sown?
Yes.
Whoa!
That's exactly.
Perfect example. So I just like led you right there. So we're the continuation of a consciousness that already exists. In Tantra, you're speaking this like God consciousness or universal consciousness, the consciousness of the whole. And so now we are stewards of that. Kind of like how the disciples in there are learning to become stewards of that. Right.
Yeah, we're seeing beyond the immediacy of our individual selves, of this flesh, this bodily needs,
Our carnal desires.
our
maybe
carnal
even.
desires.
Yeah.
We're seeing beyond that and seeing a perspective above of, infinite consciousness and continuing on what it is, this one consciousness that we are experiencing through ourselves is working towards. This whatever we're striving for, whatever consciousness is reaching for, as a collective, the collective consciousness is reaching towards.
I see this as love. Like we talked about in our psychedelic journeys, like the tether of love, like is always trying to call us back to it. It's always like, we get kind of bombarded with these signals and these layers of like burden or grief or fear. And yet really at the end of the day, all it is that we're really fighting for and trying to return to is like that tether, that one eternal tether that connects us to love. I really feel like love is that consciousness. Like it's God, it's under the cloud of God, but it's also like, that's really what it is. It's like, it's boundless, it's expansive, it's omnipresent, which means always available.
Yeah, and that's, to me, speaks to this idea, the tantric idea that there is only one consciousness, and that it's a collective, that we're just all unique perspectives of that. And so that in remembering that idea of love that you're talking about is that we're all connected. We're not separate. We have the illusion of separateness. It's this focus on the flesh, the focus on the individual, the focus on the immediacy of the needs that our body is requiring.
Yeah.
But when we can step above that and see, oh no, there's this other perspective of the collective, of the consciousness, of the divine, that we have the opportunity to continue moving in the direction of.
Yeah, interesting.
I tell you to open your eyes and look at the fields. They are ripe for harvest. Even now the one who reaps draws a wage and harvests a crop for eternal life, so that the sower and the reaper may be glad together. And this is speaking into that for me. There are those who came before us, who planted seeds then. We reap the benefits of that now.
Right.
And we have that in everyday life. We're using phones to record this. None of
Thank you
us.
to everybody that made that possible.
Right, exactly.
We suffer.
We
without
forget that we are only able to do these things because of the people who came before us to make all of this possible. I wouldn't know how to make a laptop. I wouldn't know how to make a phone. I wouldn't know how to make all of these clothes. We're reaping the benefits of all of these people who came before us. But we're not seeing it, which is why he's saying, open your eyes and look. And everything that you have to harvest and enjoy that you didn't plant, that someone else planted for you.
So true.
And the things that you're planting now, you may not see the fruits of.
Yeah, you may never see the fruits of
Right.
it. So true.
You're doing it for the collective consciousness. You're doing it not for your own benefit. You're doing it for the benefit of those you haven't even met yet. I mean, this is where children come into it, and we do get a very immediate attachment to when we have kids, or those who have kids. It's that's the fixation, but really it's the continuation of the consciousness beyond the individual self.
Right.
That's how I read this.
Yeah, of course.
And others have done the hard work, and you've reaped the benefits of their labor. It's so true, and we forget that. And when we fixate on the individual, we lose sight of the collective.
Yeah.
And not only does that harm our own experience that we're having, because we become so fixated on, I'm not getting the rewards of the hard work that I'm putting in. But what about all the rewards you're getting from the hard work everyone else who went before you put in? Then they're worth opening our eyes to. And in doing so, there's a reminder that everything that we're doing isn't solely for our benefit.
Yeah, it really is like stepping more into like that altruism mindset. And I think about it as like the ripple effect. So it's like, in somatic embodiment work and like the stuff even that we do with our clients, a couple clients, it's like noticing how even just one moment has this ripple effect that can cascade beyond just the physical self. It ripples into our partners, it ripples into our immediate communities and our networks. And when people start to feel that resonance of change, then like that's like where inspiration and action get to come from that place, and the benefits continue to expand outward.
Yeah, you have an impact on people that you haven't even met because of the impact on those that you do interact with.
Yeah. And social media has been really great, actually, I would say, for amplifying that energy. It's like we were talking about this the other day. People are going to different social media platforms for different things. And Instagram has become a really great platform for people that are looking for short, digestible, quick healing. It's almost like Band-Aid fix.
That's why we're doing a live.
Yeah,
really
when
tap
you have
into
your
the market.
Stay with us, y'all. Stay with us. Social media has made it available for people to have greater access to their healing. To people they maybe, when we think about pre-internet, right? You had a yellow pages in a phone book, and maybe you work with people in your immediate community. You're not really going outside, or you're not really working with people virtually. I mean, we see this with church, that's like, if we didn't have online access to the church that we view and we go to, would I probably be so involved? It's like 2 years now. Probably not. I wouldn't be going to the local church. I wouldn't understand that my Spanish isn't that good yet, but just having access to like what you're saying, these seeds that other people have sown has created access points now more than ever for us to be able to find the things that we're truly desiring. And I really do believe that collectively there's a lot of desire and almost an urgency for healing. And so people are kind of reaching out, even if it's just little likes or subscribes or touch points on your thing, to say like, I resonate with this, like, thank you for this. And I see that as a ripple effect. It's like a ripple effect of our conversations.
Yeah,
I love that.
And you see that as reaping.
I think it's both. It's happening simultaneously. Like we're even in this conversation, I feel like we're sowing seeds. We'll reap the benefits from it, I believe, and others will reap the benefits of it.
Like and subscribe.
And while they're tuning in, it's like they're reaping. So even as we're sowing the seeds, people are still reaping the benefits of just us being able to talk about it and have this discussion in such a way.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Maybe.
Also, yeah.
It's up to them. Do you feel that?
Do y'all feel that?
Are you reaping what we're sowing? Is that happening right now?
Are you picking up what we're putting down? I think that's another way we could talk about it. So it's interesting because like one of the concepts that we were talking about this weekend was like starting to kind of zoom out and see, okay, where in our lives is there already harvest? Like he's talking about the harvest it's already ready for harvest, right? They just weren't able to see it. And so a great question that I want to pose to you and to our audience and anybody watching the replays is like when you can kind of take a step out of your life for a second and just look at it from maybe a bird's eye view, where do you see harvest that's already available to you that maybe just because life and struggle and challenge has made it difficult to see those things?
Well, thank you for the question. I would say that from a very zoomed out point of view, that everything is an opportunity to acknowledge harvest. Not just phones and technology, but the homes that we live in, having electricity, having clean water, essentially all of the things that we take for granted because they've become so intrinsic to our life that they've become invisible.
Right.
That we become then so fixated on the things that create disruption and disturbance.
Why do you feel like that is? Like, why do you feel like it's so easy to choose negative?
I'd say it's inherent of survival instinct. The thing that's going to cause danger is the thing that draws our attention and we can become fixated on. But the thing that is happening now is we're so safe that it's the mundane things that create the disturbance, which then trigger us into this survival response. And so it's necessary to take the time to actually pause and look around and become aware of what's actually true, what's actually available, what actually can be reaped, and gratitude can be expressed, what's right in front of you, rather than fixating on where it's not, where the seeds aren't fruiting just yet.
Yeah.
The seeds of the past are fruiting right now.
It makes me think, this is a classic example here. The power goes out here quite often in Guatemala, developing nations. And so when the power goes out, I'm always talking about how quiet it feels. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so peaceful. Like there's no refrigerator, there's no internet, but then a boat will go by and I'm like, oh, damn that boat, you know?
Yeah,
and it's like, that's the thing that's disturbing my peace when it's actually incredibly peaceful.
This is after you've expressed frustration at the power going out again.
Yeah.
Right?
The power goes
out. Oh, the power's out again. Oh, actually, it's quite peaceful now.
It's so peaceful. I don't have to
there's
be
a boat.
online. Oh, now the boat's wrecking my peace. But I feel like that just speaks into how quickly and easily it is. Like I can think of construction happening next door. It's like, oh, it'd be so peaceful if they weren't hammering all the time. But then we become fixated on that sound, or like the dogs barking, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
For you and your environment.
It's easy to fixate on the disturbance and lose sight of the fruit, lose sight of the harvest.
Yeah.
Which is why it's necessary to have a constant reminder, or it's useful to have a constant reminder to check in and have conversations like this, where you can enjoy the ripple of remembering where it is in your life that there's actually harvest to be enjoyed. And I like what he says, one sows and another reaps is true. The saying, one sows and another reaps is true. And for me, not just from the point of view of those of the past who have sown and done the hard work, we are reaping the benefits of that. And then, what we sow, others will reap. But also in the sense of the part of me that reaps my own harvest isn't the same version of me that planted the seeds.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Right. That in order to get to that harvest requires the part of me that was willing to sow the seeds. What? Oh, I thought you were laughing, but it was the sound.
Yeah. I'm like, what?
Is the part of us that sows the seeds is not the part of us that reaps.
Because time has passed.
Right, and we're a different individual.
Yeah. Best case scenario, we've grown and developed a little bit over that time to even be able to see the benefits. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like, there's a question here that's like, share an area of your life. It's not a question, it's a statement. Share an area of your life where you're reaping a harvest from what others have sown before. And I also think about a time in our lives where we might not have realized we were sowing seeds, but now we're reaping the benefits of that. I think about that, in my own line of work. That's like when I started studying trauma recovery, right? In the process of studying and learning about it, I was having my own breakdowns and my own breakthroughs. And I even needed to take a moment to pause so I could integrate what I was experiencing. That was a couple of years ago now. And I knew at the time, I knew that God was working through me so that I could hold better space and be a better facilitator and even move into this space that we have now. And tuning into that energy of now that I am where I am 3 or 4 years later and I look back, it's like, wow, I see the necessity for everything that I went through to get to this point. But when I'm in it, right? Like when we're in it, it can be so hard. It's like something they were talking about. It's like, God, like, where are you in this? Because I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling confused. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling in my pain. But now
because you can't see you can't necessarily see the future benefit that whatever it is you're doing will reap, because we can't have that fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional view of existence.
And this is where I feel like faith comes in. It's like having faith that the actions that we're taking now and the things that we're doing now will be of benefit, even if we're not the ones that get to reap the benefits of it.
In some way.
God bless our ancestors.
Yeah, I agree that being able to zoom out, even though challenging at the time, creates a perspective shift. And what was it that you said something and it sparked a thought for me, but I forgot what it was. Can you?
I was saying, share an area of your life where you are reaping a harvest that others have sown before.
You were speaking about
my trauma learning.
No, it's gone.
Okay.
Maybe it'll come back.
Come back. Channeling source there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's gone. I've got to let it go.
Okay, yeah. Create space for it.
Yeah. There it is. It came back. Tantric idea. It's karma, right?
Karma.
We can't... The actions that we take in the past, or have taken in the past, will result in something in the future. It's the karmic debt.
Right.
It's that the action of the past has a consequence in the future. And the things that you did in the past that you weren't even aware of how they were serving you, they do. And I think that it's interesting. We're having a consideration of a positive point of view, but from a tantric point of view, there's also, I don't want to say negative, but there's unhealthy karma as well, right? If you sow an unhealthy seed, it may reap an unwanted fruit.
Right. I mean, it's just saying, like, you reap what you sow. Also, like that's a part of it. So it's like there's a karmic debt there, or like just the in Gene Keys I was reading recently that it's like this. Gosh. I'm trying to think of what it is.
You're distracted because there's a cat trying to get
into this room right now.
Into this room. You menace.
It's talking about justice, and it's talking about, like, when we reach the citic state of justice, it's just that it is, and there almost isn't even this, like, law of reciprocity. It's just like, it just actually is, like, it's eternal. And so as it comes, it's immediately corrected through eternal law of justice. It's like there is no positive or negative. It's just like, it just is.
For me, this speaks into the difference between karma and kriya in Tantra. So karmic action, which is action that has a particular desire or outcome in mind. And kriyic action, which is something done purely for the expression of a part of ourselves, irrespective of what the outcome is. And so you can do an action because you're wanting a particular outcome in the future. And this is where I think it comes in. Why haven't I got the harvest of the seeds that I've sown yet? It's like the impatience.
Right.
Whereas if you're doing it purely, I'm just sowing that seed and
out of service.
Yeah, then it's not about reaping it. It's not about harvesting it. It's just about sowing it.
Right. It's interesting because in the sermon, one of the things it talks about is like a reaper is thinking of the future, and the reaper is focused on the outcome, regardless of whether the harvest is for that particular person or not. And so I'm wondering, like, based upon what you said, like how can we integrate practically, like, both? Like, how can we sow seeds for our own futures with an outcome in mind, but also for the futures of others with like no expectation, but trusting in the process and having faith in the process. And also recognizing that like there is an ultimate outcome. Does that make sense?
Again?
I'm curious because you're saying like Kriya, like sometimes
How do you have both?
Yeah, how do you have both? Like how can you? Because it's kind of like, it makes me think of attachment, right? So like we want to buy a house and we're attached to what it looks like and where it is and whatever, but maybe God has a whole different plan about what our house looks like and where we're going. But the seeds that we're planting are for the fruit of that house, let's say. So how can we plant seeds towards an outcome and also trust and have faith in the process that that outcome might look or appear different than how we see it in our minds or our fleshy desires of what it's supposed to look like?
I think this is not being attached to the outcome. You can have karmic and kriyic action. It's being aware of when the action you're taking is karmic, because there is a debt, there's an energetic attachment to that. And I think this also speaks into one reaps and another sows. It's the person who sowed that seed of wanting to buy a house and the person who reaped the house just being different than the vision that it was attached to. You have to let go of that initial vision if you're wanting to reap the benefits of the actuality of what it is.
Right. I guess it just speaks to like the fleshy desires as opposed to divine will.
Yeah.
Right? Like where is divine will actually calling us to go, and trusting in that process as well. Super challenging. I'm not saying that's easy.
No, that's the whole challenge of the human experience from a tantric point of view. It's really not easy.
That's why I'm suffering.
Yeah, from a tantric point of view, it's we become so consumed by our ego self's desires that we lose sight of the divine essence nature of what divine consciousness actually wants inflowing through us. Then we become out of alignment, and that's where we suffer. And it's really hard to distinguish the two. Yeah, I think that's that's religion in a nutshell. It's hard. It's challenging. If you're finding that challenging, know that that's okay.
Also, know you're not alone. We're right in it with you. Yeah, like the death of expectation and the death and grief that come with these like attachments, like what they're saying, to like these more fleshy desires, the attachment of what the house is supposed to look like, or the job is supposed to look like, or being even of service is supposed to look like, and being able to feel compassion and love and grace for the grief that comes with what you thought things were going to look like, or what you thought they were going to feel like, and instead become in service to the reality of what that experience is actually offering.
Yeah, I mean, it said all mind-based suffering is because of a misalignment to the flow of divine will or divine consciousness. And the more we fight against it, the more we suffer.
It's like trying to swim up current. Like we're like, woof, like we're getting a workout in, but we're not really going anywhere.
It's an interesting one though, because it's not to say that life can't have challenge. It's not to say that it's always downhill. Sometimes part of divine will is the challenge.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
I mean, that's what develops our character ultimately. And I feel like there's probably a lot of people out there that are like, yeah, I'm going through a season of challenge. I'm meeting my edges and I'm meeting my growth. Please let us know if that's you. And feeling that's like, oh, this is developing our strength. Our ability to persevere.
Yeah, and it's trying to discern whether the challenge you're experiencing is because you're out of alignment or because you're in alignment, and that's just how it's
just the season.
Just how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Or how it's going to be. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I feel like we can relate to that. We can relate to that this season for sure.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I feel complete.
Yeah, I feel complete
Yeah.
with that also. Thank you everybody so much for coming in and joining, whoever watches the replay on YouTube, on Instagram. I'm so excited to have you here. Please let us know in the comments like what's landing for you, what's making sense. If you have questions, you want some feedback, please feel free to reach out to us. We love supporting you in this way. And yeah, be sure to tune in with us on Wednesdays. You can see our Instagram stories. We'll post a little countdown for you on Tuesdays so you know when we're coming live. We would love for you to have a cup of tea, coffee, or cacao, and yeah, engage in the discussion with us.
Or not, like I didn't.
Or don't have it and just sit in for the ride. It's all good. We're sending you so much love this week. And we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.